chug, 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 chug,
Hello and welcome back to the Wizard's Staff. I'm your host Blake.
And I'm Guy.
And we are two drunk novices that like to talk about EDH. We drink and swear. We kind of said that late last time, so we're saying that now, here in the beginning. If that's not your thing, then that's fine. Just don't listen. We are here today to talk about part 2 of our War of the Spark review. We talked about planeswalkers last time, so now we're going to talk about the legendary creatures and notable EDH cards that are relevant to EDH.
So, yeah, there were 37 new planeswalkers for War of the Spark. So, a lot of these new planeswalkers are a lot more relevant to EDH. So that's why Blake and I decided to do a separate podcast for that. And now we're just going to focus on the normal legendary creatures and EDH cards that we like to mention.
Sometimes in our set reviews, we will talk about noticeable reprints. This time, there were none. This was a set that had almost completely... Every single card was new, brand new. I think besides for 1 or 2 cards.
I think I saw that there were 5 reprints, and then I think there's 6 or 7 functional reprints. Mm-hmm. So cards that have the same exact effect as past cards. But none of these reprints
are relevant, really.
Are relevant. None of the functional reprints were relevant. And to be honest, I'm really okay with that because we got Modern Horizons, which is coming out in a couple months, and they probably will have 40 to 50% reprints there. And this set is like the culmination of 6 years worth of storytelling, so I would rather these cards be able to focus on telling a good story, a very well done story, than have some of those notable reprints.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that it would have been nice to get like the Immortal Sun or Chain Veil, because those were like key cards, but yeah, it's fine that they're not.
They're key cards that do play a part in the story, but it's fine.
Yeah. It's important to note that all cards except for the new Nicol Bolas and Niv Mizzet are either mono or 2 colors. I think that's actually like a tendency with most sets, though. Like, most of them tend to be 1 or 2 colors.
I mean, I think just because we're on Ravnica, I feel like that was kind of the theme.
The guilds.
Right. They were trying to just stick with that. So, like Guilds of Ravnica and Ravnica Allegiance,
Mythic Edition.
We got the Mythic Edition. So, contrary to what we just said, kind of, there are a few notable reprints in this Mythic Edition.
Yeah,
so
they're pseudo reprints.
Right. So the Mythic Edition is a 24 booster box set on a very limited run. There are 16 normal War of the Spark packs, and then 8 special packs that contain a quote-unquote masterpiece of one of the following. Well, you get 8 packs and you'll get all 8 of these full art planeswalkers. So we got Sarkhan Unbroken, Nahiri the Harbinger, Garruk Apex Predator, Tezzeret the Seeker, Nicol Bolas Dragon God, Gideon Blackblade, Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Oof.
So for Guilds of Ravnica, we got cards like Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and Liliana the Last Hope. Those were 2 notable planeswalkers that were worth quite a bit and made that Mythic Edition worth it. And since that was the first run of these special boxes, there were many errors and frustrations that came with it, such that it was on a much limited run, and it was on a very poorly navigated website to buy. And so then when it came to Ravnica Allegiance, they fixed a lot of those errors that was addressed, but there weren't really any of the planeswalkers in that set were worth the price tag of $250. So both Jace and Ugin, the normal editions of them, not these mythic planeswalker masterpieces, but the normal versions are both close to $100. So just buying this already makes it worth your while.
Yeah, assuming that it stays at the current MSRP.
Correct, but it's definitely going to go up. Like, there's no way that, these are going to be the most highly sought after of these kind of special editions.
And you're thinking about buying this?
I am considering buying this just because I know that already selling a couple of these, not even the most expensive ones, because I want the Jace the Mind Sculptor. It would make it worthwhile. So, yeah. At the time of recording this, the Mythic Edition has not gone on sale. When we record one of our other videos...
It will.
When we do our drive to work, by the time we record that episode, we will know whether or not I got a Mythic Edition. So stay tuned. So of those, Tezzeret is probably the most EDH playable, maybe then followed by Ugin.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like, yeah, definitely in terms of how often I see them, yeah. I definitely see Jace when people shouldn't, but that's another topic for another time. But
sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna go straight into the legendary creatures, and this is what we're really here for. We're gonna start off with Fibblethip the Lost. It is a 1 in a blue legendary creature, homunculus, 1/1. When this card enters the battlefield, draw a card. If it entered from your library or was cast from your library, draw 2 cards instead. When this card becomes the target of a spell, shuffle it into the library. So this is different. Like, it's doing a lot of weird shenanigans with your, like, between the commander and the library that you usually don't see. Usually you don't want your commander to be shuffled into your library. Like, anyone who remembers the Tuck rule was like, oh, my commander's just gone forever. Okay. People have, like, pointed out already the obvious, like, Proteus staff synergy, where you can basically, like, put Fibblethip on the bottom of your library and stack every single card of your library in the way that you want, and put, like, the best 2 on the very top, I guess, and then draw them. But, like, that's really gimmicky, like, really gimmicky, guys. And, like, I'm glad they made this card. I'm glad it exists, but there is, like, almost no one is going to actually be playing this in EDH. Let's be real here.
Well, I think people will play this.
You think
if
so?
you're able to get Proteus staff out pretty quickly, you can then almost stack your deck exactly how you want it to be with Proteus staff. And I don't know, being able to draw like 10 good cards in a row that'll probably just give me my win condition. Fibblethip isn't even, what is it, a 2 CMC card? Is it a 3 CMC card?
It's 2, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really easy to cast.
Yeah, but then he's, like, going in the library. He's like,
so
see ya.
That's the point. You want him in the library so you can use this Proteus staff. If there's other interesting ways to abuse this effect, go for it, but I think this is the most obvious one, and it can lead to a pretty good win condition.
I don't know. I feel like there's other commanders that can do it best. If you're really wanting to build a deck that can combo, I feel like you can do better. But alright, if you really are determined to make a Fibblethip combo deck, go for it, my man. More power to you.
Alright. We got Krenko making a comeback. So Krenko, 10 Street Kingpin, 2R, legendary creature, goblin, 1/2. Whenever Krenko, 10 Street Kingpin attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Then create a number of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens equal to Krenko's power. So it's slower than the original Krenko, but I think it's just good for the 99. For the original Krenko, I don't think it's actually, like, that good as a commander.
Yeah, like, it's hard when you have a card that's like a new iteration of a former card, because like you can't help but compare them. And like, yeah, Krenko, the original Krenko Mob Boss was exponential, whereas this one is linear in terms of token making, and like you can untap and tap Krenko Mob Boss and do shenanigans much more easily than you can like do extra combat to really make Tin Street better. So maybe you put Tin Street in the OG Krenko. I don't know, man. Even then,
Did the original Krenko have haste?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't believe he did.
Well, I feel like that would make this a little better, especially if it's focused on the like attack. You know?
Yeah.
We're looking it up real quick.
Yeah,
No.
he does not.
All right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Original Krenko is actually pretty decent. Not this new one though. Sorry. Not worth my interest. If I don't know. We're gonna move on to Neheb, Dread Horde Champion. 2 red, legendary creature, Zombie Minotaur Warrior, 5/4, trample. Whenever this card deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you may discard any number of cards. If you do, draw that many cards and add that much red to your mana pool. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. I guess you do like extra combat spells to really make the most of this. I do want to note that it requires that this card deals combat damage, so it's fairly restricted. It's nice that it has built-in trample, and it's like a 5/4 for 4. But as the game progresses, it's it might even if the game progresses, you can probably still hit people for combat damage and make it still work, I think.
Yeah, if you have a full hand, you could then just, have Neheb deal combat damage to a player. And if you have Hellkite Charger out, you'd then be able to get a lot of extra combat phases, like almost infinitely.
Yeah, I think if you have the right setup, you can do infinites.
Right.
Combat.
You would need some kind of like card in your graveyard that would allow you to recycle your library a lot, just in case if you're only doing like 1 or 2 damage per turn.
Oh, that's true.
So it seems okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's.
I could be wrong, but I think the other mono red Neheb is a little bit more powerful.
I think they might be on equal levels.
Around equal levels?
On equal levels.
Okay.
All right, next, Massacre Girl. 3 black, legendary creature, human assassin, 4/4. She has menace. When she enters the battlefield, each other creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So fuck your tokens. Whenever a creature dies this turn, each creature other than Massacre Girl gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So fuck your tokens, and then if those tokens die, then it could ultimately, if you have the right number of like steps, like if you have a 1/1, 2/2, 3/3, you could like ultimately just end up board wiping.
I think even if you have just a bunch of 1/1s, that works too, to like kill if you have 6 1/1s, you'll kill a 6/6.
No, wait, whenever a creature dies this turn, each other creature. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's why like people have been talking about the Exotic Orchard land, where it taps for any mana, but it gives a 1/1 to somebody else. It guarantees setup for when you cast Massacre Girl.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. It's like an homage to like the Massacre Worm.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So like it's kind of hard for mono black to get those ETB triggers. Like there's a couple artifacts that can flicker, but like maybe give it some Undying or Reanimator package and really make the most of that ETB. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. So then we have for our next legendary creature, Tomic Distinguished Advocist, white, legendary creature, human advisor, 2/3 with flying. Lands on the battlefield and land cards in graveyards can't be the targets of spells or abilities your opponents control. Your opponents can't play land cards from your graveyards. That's the one that's actually kind of good. Your opponents can't cast land cards from their grave. Like, this kind of really screws over some Omnath, Gitrog, Monster, Lord Windgrace, like a bunch of decks that care about lands and can play them from the graveyard over and over.
I feel like this is just going to be a good card if you know someone in your meta plays one of these.
It's pretty situational.
Yeah, I don't think this is something that's like, man, this is what white needed.
Yeah, this is what I've been waiting for, this mono white commander. Like, it's gonna be more of like a tech card in the 99.
Mm-hmm.
At least, unless something crazy changes with the meta, like in general, like this is not gonna be good as a commander for many years.
I mean, it could be a sleeper agent for a while, and we get another card in the future that would then make this much more relevant. But for right now, I think
it's just
fine.
Tech.
Yeah.
99 tech. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see.
All right. Whoo, Loyal Companion, 3G, Legendary Creature, Hound, 3/3, Trample, Vigilance.
Village.
I think I was like thinking Vigilante.
Oh yeah. Oh, I see it. Yeah.
All right. So if one or more +1/+1 counters will be put on Whoo, Loyal Companion, that many +1/+1 counters are put on it instead. So everyone's just losing their mind over the fact that this is a fucking dog.
People love dogs, man.
I know people love dogs, and I love dogs too. So yeah, everyone's right. Yeah, let's lose our minds.
This is the goodest, most swole doggo in the multiverse.
Yeah, there's the white one, the 1W.
Yeah, Isamaru.
That one's okay.
Yeah, but this is just like step over. I'm the bigger dog here, and he's just like, all right.
He has a more relevant ability. Because Isamaru is just a vanilla white creature.
Yeah. This has like, okay, here's some guidance as to like maybe build around this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we're gonna move on to Visit Reborn. It is Wooburg, so one of every color for the casting cost. Legendary creature, dragon avatar, 5/5 flying. Every dragon's gotta have flying, man. When this card enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each color pair, choose a card that's exactly those colors from among them. Put the chosen cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, I'm imagining in your main deck you want tons of cards that are in the pairs, like the color pairs. In order, when you get that ETB, you're gonna be getting most of those cards. That way you're like making the most of the situation. I know in CEDH circles, competitive EDH, people are saying that this is, and I've explained that this is just a better General Tazri 5-color food chain deck.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very flavorful since you could just be taking advantage of all those new multi-color spells that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that, the competitive side of EDH, like, I saw this and was like, oh, okay, but, like, clearly these competitive players are just thinking on a whole new level, because I was like, oh, wow, I guess it could make your food chain a little more relevant? I don't know.
Yeah. Figured it out.
Rolex Apex Hybrid.
Yeah, something like that.
2 GG. 2 green, blue. Legendary creature, human mutant. It's a 4/5. Flying trample. When Rolex Apex Hybrid enters the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control. When he dies, proliferate, then proliferate again. I don't know. It for a legendary creature card, this doesn't seem like it's worth the time if it's just gonna die.
No, like, we're doing this review and I've already kind of forgotten about it, to be honest. Like,
I don't see how you can build a deck around this.
Okay, it's an ETB, so you try and make the most of that, but it's just putting +1/+1 counters on other creatures. Like, okay, like you're making your creature slightly bigger, like, and then, okay, the second line of text, which is like when it dies, proliferate, then proliferate again. That's good that you're proliferating twice, but the fact that you have to send your commander to the graveyard anytime your commander has to go to the graveyard for an effect to go off is usually bad, because you almost 99% of the time want it to go back to the command zone and just recast
Well,
it.
no,
Even
it
with
just
the commander
when
decks.
it dies, it doesn't have to go to the graveyard.
Like, it has to die in order to go to the graveyard.
Wait.
Sort of like a Lend of the Dusk Rose has to like die and then get
okay.
those triggers. Yeah, you then have to run a Reanimator package, which is fine with that card because it has black and can get it back. But like,
Yeah,
this is
blue
fucking
and-
Simic. You're not gonna be able to get this thing back from the fucking grave. It's in fucking Simic. You're not getting this back. It's fucking stuck there and now it's gone.
Yeah, this sucks.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. I'm getting salty.
Okay, wait.
Sorry.
Wait. Please let me talk about this card because I want to build a commander deck around this.
All right, go for it.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Olsommer. I actually don't even know if I said that right.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, Olsommer. Friend to Wolves. 2 green, white. Legendary creature, Elf Scout, 3/3. When Olsommer and Friend to Wolves enters the battlefield, create Voja, Friend to Elves, a legendary 3/3 green and white wolf creature token. Whenever a wolf enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life, and that creature fights up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. Hell yeah. So, I don't know why I like this card so much, but it gives me strong Princess Mononoke vibes. And it would just be cool to just do a wolf token deck. It seems very casual. I'm not trying to think of this as like, hell yeah, new competitive EDH tier 0 deck. But it seems like it would be a lot of fun, at least.
Yeah. Is it like just the idea of wolves that you're making?
I think it's also just the fact that it kind of gives me, like, I might build this and also kind of give it like a sub Princess Mononoke theme. I mean, I really just want this to be casual and like, because I think that's one of the reasons why I like my Jolta deck so much is just, yeah, I could bring out one of my competitive decks and have a good time, but like Jolta is just like, all right, good stomp, big
I'ma stomp you to
creatures,
death with a giant dinosaur.
and I don't expect to win all the time with it, but like it's just fun to play.
All right. Yeah.
So just
Now
looking
you-
for ways to make this fun too.
Now you can stomp all over people with wolves. All right. Next,
Maul them.
maul them with wolves. Yeah.
Yeah, not stomp.
Porque no los dos. We have Storev, Devkarin Lich. It is 1 black green legendary creature. It is a zombie, an elf, and a wizard. It is all 3 of those things, and it is a 5/4 with trample. There's quite a lot of 5/4 tramples in this. When this deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, return to your hand target creature or planeswalker card in your graveyard that wasn't put there this combat. So you can't do any like weird combat shenanigans, I guess, and get it back. I just kind of what everyone else has been saying, like this is just a weaker Marin. You only really want to make this like if you want to get back planeswalkers. And who knows, maybe you can reuse that Sorin that you put someone's life at 10. Like, that's the best thing I can figure out.
I saw this card and honestly I didn't give it a second thought.
Yeah.
It seems fine.
Yeah.
It seems all right.
It had
at
such
best.
it had such potential. Like, the archetypes of zombie and elf and wizard are all, like, really well-supported archetypes, but this doesn't really synergize with any of those that I can tell. Like, it doesn't synergize with wizards, it doesn't synergize with elves, it doesn't synergize with zombies, it doesn't do really what any of those are doing. It's doing its own completely different thing. And yeah, I am forgetting about it as we speak. But not this next card.
I'll let you talk about this one because I feel like
I have strong opinions.
you have stronger opinions, and I also talked about Olsommer
Okay.
because
so-
I really wanted to.
Alright, so we are going to talk about Feather the Redeemed. It is red, white, 3 CMC. Legendary creature, angel, 3/4 with flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, return to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. So it's Boros, and it can kind of, in Boros' own way, kind of maintain card advantage, or at least
you equal out.
Yeah, you equal out. You're at least preventing yourself from going like net zero,
right?
Like or going negative in card advantage.
Because Boros has a hard time just drawing cards in general. So at least you're not losing cards, but you're getting back the cards that you want to use again and again.
So it's nice that it's like a low CMC commander, because you can cast it early, and if it dies a couple times, you can recast it. That's always a good thing when you're looking for a legendary creature.
I mean,
generally speaking,
the other problem with Boros would probably be just ramp.
Yeah.
So I feel like that if you're getting up to a point where, you don't have the ramp to cast this a couple times, that might put a damper on, the effects.
Yeah, and that's like what I kind of will say, which is you don't want to cast Feather turn 3, wait till like turn 5 or 6, and make sure you have instant speed protection for it, because otherwise if you cast it turn 3 and it dies, you're like, well, fuck. Like now I have to wait like another 2 turns because I'm in Boros and I can't ramp out to that fast enough.
Right.
Because if your commander dies early, you usually want to ramp into it next turn, but in Boros you can't. So you're probably not playing this turn 3. Probably not. It depends on like how you built your deck. But anyways, like you can cantrip each turn on your opponent's turns, and a lot of the red and whites have some effect and then draw a card, so that's really nice. Like everyone's kind of already knows. But all I'll say is I have looked at a lot of Feather the Redeemed deck lists online, and you motherfuckers need to learn how to include win conditions. Holy shit. Please, if you build this godforsaken deck, please include win conditions. I am so tired of looking at decks without win conditions. Please.
So how would you win? How would you go about winning with this deck then?
Okay, well, like there's a couple ways you can. If I were to do this, I would probably do Aetherflux Reservoir as like my main win condition, because you can just cast so many low cantrips over and over and over again. And like there are like creatures like Zada that you want to include in the 99 that will copy it for each other creature as well. That's probably like one of the best win conditions, and some people have been doing that, and I thank you for that.
All right, that's all right. Yeah. This was the Command Zones preview card, and they hyped it up quite a bit.
Yeah, this card is so overhyped right now.
I will be really interested to see what comes out of this, but yeah, I don't know. It seems good. It seems good for a Boros commander.
Yeah.
Seems very good for a Boros commander. All right. Now we're getting into the god cycle. So there are 5 legendary creature gods, each a monocolor. So this is the first one. We got Illhara the Raised Boar, 3 red, legendary creature, boar god, 6/6, trample. Whenever Illhara the Raised Boar attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Return that card to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. When Illhara the Raised Boar dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library, 3rd from the top. So that second ability, all the new gods have that ability. So it's meant to be kind of like this zombie.
They're returning from the grave.
Right. They're unkillable because they are gods. And it's like, if this is your commander, then you can then kind of get around like the taxing, because then you'll just draw it and be able to play it from your hand instead.
Without the commander tax.
Right. So that's kind of nice. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's just a card you'll always know that you can get back into your hand pretty easily. Mm-hmm. This, I don't know. The combos that I've seen for this card, it doesn't seem like you could run this as the commander for. Like, I've seen a few where you can take infinite turns with that blue-black Sphinx. That's a legendary creature too.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not like if you run Illhara as your commander.
You'd have to run them both in the 99.
You would have to run both in the 99, which then that makes that, combo a lot less relevant. But if you pull it off, like, all right, infinite turns, then you should win at that point.
Yeah, otherwise it's just kind of like, oh, you can, basically, sneak attack without having to, yeah, it's kind of like pseudo sneak attack, where, you just sneak out something super big and powerful, like an Eldrazi or something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Yeah, and there's enough artifacts where, you can cast this before turn 5. Yeah.
Yeah, more Princess Mononoke vibes.
Yeah, it felt like we were just talking about End-Rays, Forerunners, and Decimator of the Provinces in the last set, which reminded me of Okoto from Princess Mononoke. So.
And then, Tulsimer, as we just talked about, being Princess Mononoke.
It's a good movie. Go watch it, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so little lore for you newbies out there. But so Almond Cat was a set that we visited 2-3 years ago, somewhere around there.
Was it that long ago? Fuck. I guess.
I think it was 2 years ago because Dominaria was last year, and then I think Almond Cat was the year before that.
It was.
And so on Almond Cat, there were several gods that we were introduced at that time. There was one for each color, but in the storyline, they all died and were brought back from the dead by Nicol Bolas, except for the red one, who is either still alive and in hiding, or is actually dead and was not revived as a zombie.
Hazaret?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Blake?
Yeah. So, we have the green one, God Eternal Ronus. Its ETB is double the power of each other creature you control. They also gain vigilance that turn. I didn't bother to include the stats because I got...
Blake was really unprepared for this.
No, it's more like I didn't care about their stats. I only cared about their ETB triggers. And so that's what I'm going to focus on. You double the power of each other creature you control. You can just make your green stompy deck even stompier, guy, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely wanting this for my Jolta deck.
I feel like you say that every third card.
Yeah, because for Jolta, I'm not even just thinking oh, what's gonna be the most synergistic. I'm just thinking oh, what's gonna be fun. So.
All right, that's okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it has that ability where third from the top. So if it's put into the graveyard, it can be returned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're looking at the stats right now.
Well, oh, no. Never mind. I was about to say, I think they're actually all supposed to be
4/4s or something.
Well, no, I thought their CMCs were all supposed to be 3 and then 2 of the color. But I think it's God Eternal Kefnet's a little different. But so the black one, which is God Eternal Bontu, is a 3 black. And can you spell?
No, I can't.
That's Dog Eternal.
Basically the same thing. Oh my god.
Blake, I swear to God. Alright, so
go.
God Eternal Bontu. Yeah, so God Eternal Bontu is a 3 black. It has Menace. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice any number of other permanents, then draw that many cards. I feel like it's okay. It's a 5/6. I don't think it's the strongest of the gods. I'd actually say it's probably the weakest of them.
Yeah, unless you have a whole bunch of tokens, sacrificing your own permanents in order to draw is not good. Whenever you're, I don't know, because if you're sacrificing lands, your own enchantments, your creatures,
if it was pay life, if you could pay.
Oh yeah.
Then I think it'd be pretty broken then, because it's almost then Grizzlebrand.
Yeah.
Where it'd be oh, pay 7 life, draw 7 cards.
Yeah, and that's why they didn't make it that way.
Grizzlebrand also had lifelink. But this.
Yeah.
We could.
It's not good. Let's just agree that it's not good.
All right.
So what? The blue one now.
Mm-hmm.
God Eternal Kefnet. Okay, this is probably the strongest of them all. I think so. Because you can get extra turn spells back.
You could, yes, you're right.
Yeah, and I think that alone, this is 4 CMC, it's the cheapest of all of them. And the fact that it actually synergizes and can get back extra turn spells, can loop them over and over, makes it the best one. Because it you may reveal the first card you draw each turn. As you draw it, whenever you reveal an instant or sorcery card this way, copy that card and you may cast the copy. The copy costs 2 less to cast.
Yeah, I'd say there's probably some pretty good combos you could do with this. Though it is only the first card you draw each turn, I don't know if that matters too much.
It basically prevents it from being too busted, where it limits it pretty much once per turn.
Seems okay.
Yeah.
The 4/5 is a good stats.
And I feel like mono blue has enough ways to stack the top of the library with ponder effects and all that sort of stuff.
True.
Yeah.
All right, so God Eternal Oketra, 3 white, last god. She has double strike. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 4/4 black zombie warrior creature token with vigilance. I already know that this is supposed to be pretty good in other formats. I think this is fairly decent in our format.
Yeah.
Whenever you cast
if you make a creature heavy, you can make it all right.
Well, if you can cast many small creatures, you can get a lot of 4/4 black zombie warriors.
And then you hope nobody
with vigilance. Yeah.
Yeah, I just hope nobody board wipes and have a huge board and maybe do stuff. Yeah.
We'll see. This one seems medium power level. Ronos and Kefnet, I think, are the two of the stronger gods.
I agree. Yeah.
All right.
What do we have next? We're going to move on to notable cards. So we're going to start off. Why don't you talk about this one?
Yeah, so this is one. So as we mentioned in our first video where we had the planeswalkers, each planeswalker came with its own kind of creature or instant sorcery that kind of accompanied it. So for example, this is Narset's Reversal, which is blue instant. Copy target instant or sorcery spell, return that card to owner's hand. You may choose new targets for the copied spell. So it's pseudo counter spell. You're delaying someone else being able to cast their spells, but it's very searchable since it's a 2 CMC. You can get this out with Spellseeker. You could put this on Isochron Scepter, and if you have Paradox Engine, then you're pretty much locking people out from playing anything that they want. Because you can just you can just continuously copy other people's stuff.
Well, I think it's limited to instants and sorceries, but yes.
Yes, okay, you're right.
But yeah, it's Isochron Scepter and Paradox Engine. It's usually pretty good together. But yeah.
I mean, get out one kind of counter spell out on the stack, and you can continuously just counter stuff.
I think so, yeah. Something like that. It kind of reminds me of Venser Shaper Savant in that it has very specific wording that gets around uncounterable spells.
Right, because Venser Shaper Savant, when it enters the battlefield and it has Flash as a creature, it doesn't counter the spell, but it just kind of sends the spell back to the owner's hand.
Yeah, thereby pseudo-countering it.
Right, so it's more like a delay.
Yeah, but the right decks will build it to where they can do that infinitely. But yes, yes. All right, then we have the Elder spell. It is black sorcery. Destroy any number of target planeswalkers. Choose a planeswalker you control. Put 2 loyalty counters on it for each planeswalker card destroyed this way. All I really want to say about this card is I feel like if you just add the word Elder to the beginning of anything, it just makes it sound epic. It's Elder Spell, Elder Wand, Elder Scrolls, Elder Guy. You sound more official if you're Elder Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So flavor-wise, this card is awesome because this is what Nicol Bolas was hoping to achieve and obtain his godlike status. So best case scenario for this card is it's incredibly powerful if you have a ton of people playing with planeswalkers, or if you even have planeswalkers. This would help your Nicol Bolas Dragon God get up to the -8. Players lose the game if they don't control legendaries. But like worst case scenario, it's like just destroy Super Friends.
Yeah, I feel like I don't think, unless planeswalkers become more relevant in the future, like I don't think most people should play this.
Yeah, not in EDH at least.
Like I know Lord Windgrace has become very popular, along with Esther the Masked and a few others, like within recent years because of Commander products. But like, it is not worth the fact that most of the time this is just gonna hit nothing.
Right.
Not at all. Even with the current hype, I feel like it's not gonna affect EDH that much, because most planeswalkers cannot be commanders due to current rulings.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Deliver Onto Evil. 2 black, sorcery. Choose up to 4 target cards in your graveyard. If you control a Bolas planeswalker, return all of them to your hand. Otherwise, an opponent chooses 2 of them, put the chosen into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Exile Deliver Onto Evil. It reminds me a lot of Gifts Ungiven, in a reversed way where you're getting the cards from your graveyard instead of the deck. Definitely not as powerful since it's also just a sorcery and it exiles itself. So best case scenario, if you control a Bolas planeswalker, then you get some pretty good stuff back. But like, I don't know, also getting just 2 cards for 3 from the graveyard that you might want back seems pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those rare cards where, like, even though you don't meet the hyper-specific condition of, like, having a Bolas Planeswalker, this is still playable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you pointed out to me, and I didn't realize at first, like, it's up to, I think.
Right, so it's...
You can force them to choose the 2 that you want.
Right, so it's up to 4, but you can just choose 2 cards instead of the 4, and pretty much just force your opponent to like say, oh, of these 2 instead of the 4, you're just making me take these 2. I'm not even going to give you the chance to deny me these.
Yeah, it's like you have to choose 2 flavors of ice cream to buy right now, and we have vanilla and chocolate. All right, go ahead. What will you order?
Vanilla
and chocolate. You're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you like them, but yeah. You're not going to. Vanilla and chocolate are going to fuck up your world. All right, we got Casualties of War. It is 2 black, green, sorcery. Choose 1 or more. Destroy target creature, destroy target land, destroy target enchantment, destroy target artifact, destroy target planeswalker. So this hits almost every permanent type there is.
Every permanent, yep.
Yeah, every permanent type.
Unless if you're counting tribal as a permanent type.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna count that. So it's like, what, 6 CMC for blowing up 5 things at best.
But it's pretty diverse, where you can kind of pick like the worst creature, the worst land, the worst enchantment, the worst artifact, and the worst planeswalker that's making the biggest impacts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even like, because they also might be just among your 3 opponents, like one of them might have the strongest creature and a planeswalker. Oh, I'll take those away from you. Oh, over there you're playing with a lot of good lands. Let me just destroy that Gaia's Cradle, and then destroying the person next to you who has the enchantment and artifact. I feel like this is good,
but it's not great.
It's not like great, but it's decent. It's really good.
I feel that because it's like, I feel like 6 CMC is very high, and it's not instant speed like Windgrace's Judgment is, and I feel like there's going to be too many. There's actually going to be too many times where I only want to be casting this if I'm guaranteed going to be hitting everything. I'm greedy. I don't even think... Okay, no, I take it back. That doesn't even be greedy. It's like, I just want my cards to work optimally. And I feel like there's going to be too many situations where it's not going to hit all 5 things, and I'm always going to be disappointed.
I feel like it'll hit at least 4 of the 5.
I agree too, but still, it's like, that's not good enough for me. For 6 mana at sorcery speed.
Okay. I guess if it's not at sorcery speed, because maybe you're like, oh, that paradox engine isn't going to go off yet, but then like surprise, and you're like, oh shit, I wish I could have taken care of that, but now I can't.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like this is kind of one of those greedy cards where, like, yeah, at face value, it's like, it's pretty good, but like, it's a very greedy card at 6 mana. And yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
Soul Diviner, blue-black, Zombie Wizard, 2/3. Tap, remove a counter from a artifact, creature, land, or planeswalker card you control. Draw a card. So I've seen a few shenanigans with this card, like Glacial Chasm, where you can just remove the counter from the cumulative upkeep, so you're able to never take damage. I feel I mean, that's a really good combo right there. Mm-hmm. It's a little specific, and I don't think that if you're running Glacial Chasm, blue and black tends to be the colors that you're going to be running.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, Dimir is not really
the land matters kind of decks.
I mean, maybe Mystic Remora, or yeah, it's not really the decks that are running a lot of cumulative upkeep effects. So
it's
very unique. I'll give it that. It's very unique.
Right. The fact that it can help with the cumulative upkeep is very... You don't see that very often, but...
Almost never.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's one of those cards that I'm going to remember for the future just because it's so specific and like does something no other card really does.
You might want to buy a couple just... I feel like this is one of those... Whenever a new set comes out, I feel like cards tend to like stay at like this lowish price, and then once you start playing with them, you realize like how good they actually are. And so I feel like this card does have the potential not to like become the most expensive card in the set, but it definitely has potential to be a little more expensive than, because it is such a unique effect. We don't see this. We've never really seen this.
We see like plenty of things that put on counters or double counters or add counters, but not remove counters.
Right.
All right, we have Heartwarming Redemption. It is 2 red-white instant. Discard all cards in your hand, then draw that many cards +1, so you're staying even for card advantage. You gain life equal to the number of cards in your hand, so that's the white part of this Boros card. I don't know, it just sort of... If you have 4 mana to burn, you can get a new hand at instant speed, which is pretty decent. Like, going into your next... Maybe, like, going into a rotation of the table, you realize, oh, this hand that I kept isn't really enough to deal with this board. I need to risk it and see if my odds with a new hand in Boros.
Yeah. The lore, the flavor of this card is really nice because it's Gideon after he dies and he's being reunited with all of his friends, so it's like giving them a second chance. So it seems like it could be a Boros staple.
Maybe. Like, I mean, obviously, like, if you have the money, run as many wheel effects as you can. But
for Boros, like if you're running Boros specific,
maybe I'll get back. As you know, I have a Boros deck. I'll get back to you. I'll buy it because I think it's like gonna be like 30 cents or something.
Yeah, this card isn't gonna be that much.
So I'll let you know.
It might be like Smothering Ties, where now that's starting to like creep up in price because people do realize how good this card actually is.
Yeah. No, seriously though, like remember when we did the review for that, and I was like, the one card I'm gonna buy is Smothering Tithe. You remember that?
Yeah.
Ever since I put it on, I'm not kidding. Like, it is one of like the key cards that wins me games.
Or really like shoots you ahead.
Yes, like it's been noticeable. Like I bought that and Wheel of Fortune, and those two cards synergize so well, and wheel effects with that. It's noticeable how many times I've like been able to win because of that. I get to like 100 mana, and it's like, I'm not kidding. You do, because you go wheel into wheel into wheel, and then you're like, oh, I guess I have 100 mana, and I'm just gonna cast like the best cards in my deck.
It was around, I think, $4 when we first got it. Now it's up to 10.
Yeah.
So it could be a card that just creeps over the next couple of years, because it's probably not going to be reprinted anytime soon.
Yeah, that's why I bought it in foil.
All right.
It's pretty.
All right. Dread Horde Invasion. 1 in a black enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. So amass is put a +1/+1 counter on an army you control. If you don't control an army, create a 0/0 black zombie army creature token first. So whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater attacks, it gains lifelink until end of turn. A lot of people have been saying that this is Bitter Blossom. I think it's a slightly weaker Bitter Blossom because you amass and you don't create a new specific zombie creature token.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to you about this earlier, but I think the
Yes.
amass mechanic fails in the fact that it's not actually an army, it's just one giant creature. If you had like a 9/9 army creature token that you could then like divide up as you want into maybe like a 3/3, a 5/5, and a 1/1, so then you can like move those counters around to like
Different factions of an army.
Right, like how an army would operate. Then I feel like that's where it would become a lot more powerful. But amass is just, oh no, I'm just going to create one large zombie creature token.
Yeah, I guess I immediately like knew about amass and realized it wasn't really relevant to EDH and didn't really tune into that. But I agree with that assessment where it's like, yeah, you're just making one big token rather than like an army, which is known for being like low and wide.
Right.
Yeah. Instead of tall and one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, so now I kind of want to talk about all like the next 4 cards in conjunction, because they're all kind of centered around proliferating. So like we have Pollen Bright Druid, which is 1 and a green, creature elf druid 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, choose one, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, or proliferate. And then basically it's the exact same creature, Bloom Hulk, which is 3 and a green. It's when it enters the battlefield, proliferate. They're basically the same card. And I feel like there's enough ETB shenanigan support where you can just do ETB over and over and over again to proliferate over and over and over again and get pretty decent value. Those have to obviously be in the right decks, but that definitely exists because I've seen it. And then we have Evolution Sage, which is basically like, I'm not going to read stats. It's basically like landfall, proliferate. So whenever a land enters the battlefield, you proliferate. And especially in like Lord Windgrace, that can be really, really, really strong.
I don't know why they didn't just say landfall, proliferate, and they had to write out whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, proliferate.
I mean, they did that with Tatiova, where it's like, why didn't you just say landfall, gain a life draw card?
Yeah, and I guess that's making landfall seem like pseudo evergreen, because if you have it in, why would you have landfall only on one specific card? And I know they did that for the Tezzeret with Affinity, but this is
basically landfall.
It is landfall.
Yeah, so whatever. And
we need to call Mark Rosewater.
Yeah, calling you out. What's going on? Then for the last of these 4 is Flux Channeler. It is 2 and a blue, 2/2 human wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, proliferate. It's just a very cheap spell that then you cast a few other spells, and you're like, okay, I have like 4 proliferate triggers, and I probably have something good, and now you're kind of either winning or winning right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of these are like the 4 creatures that are really like supporting the whole proliferate mechanic in this set, and they're pretty decent because they're all low. Yeah, you can find out ways to make them really good. I don't know.
All right. We got Cruel Celebrit, white and black, creature, vampire, 1/2. Whenever Cruel Celebrit or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. I've read that this is going to be a very good card for Modern.
Yeah.
Especially, and I think this could be like a pretty good card for those life gained white black decks or Zov.
Though, like, a lot of people have like skipped over it, and the only reason I'm really bringing it up is the fact that it's yet another piece that makes sack loop decks more consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one more piece to make those decks even more consistent.
Just makes you have a much higher life total.
And just winning, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we have Time Wipe, 2 white, black, sorcery. Return a creature you control to its owner's hand, then destroy all creatures. So, I can bet you there are going to be so many Orzhov decks that are going to cast their commander.
Azorius.
Yes, Azorius, thank you. And there's going to be so many Azorius decks that like cast my commander, and then it's going to be a rotation of the table, and they're going to be like, shit, so much has changed. This is really bad. I need a board wipe. Perfect. Cast Time Wipe, bounce my commander back to my hand, nuke the board, and recast my commander. And I'm good to go. Because there have been so many times where like you cast your commander, and you're like, this is going to be great, and then the rotation of the table happens, and you're like, fuck. Like, this is completely changed. Like, I need to do something completely different now.
In this way too, you're not having to pay that tax.
Yes.
So I want to consider running this in Bruna. I do think. Well, I don't think it matters that this is a sorcery, but if it had been instant, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, this is Orzhov. You can't run it in Bruna. Sucker.
White blue Bruna.
White black.
Oh no, no! Time Wipe is meant to be. This is white blue, because this is Teferi's card.
Did I mislabel it?
Yes, you did.
What is it called? Wipe. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
I know I'm right. This is Teferi's card. All right.
I'm gonna fix that right now because that's gonna bother me.
Okay, so he's fixing the notes that we already talked about.
You're welcome.
All right. Next, Bolas' Citadel. It's 3 black, black, black. Legendary artifact. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play the top card of your library if you cast a spell this. You may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. Tap. Sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. I've been like on and off about whether I think this card is actually supposedly really powerful. And I've come to the conclusion that I think it is in the very right circumstances. Otherwise, I think it's just okay. I think unless if you know that you're able to stack your deck in the right way, this card's fine.
So you'd want cards to manipulate the top of your library?
Yes, because then I just know that, like, okay, I can play the top card of my library anytime, so that's instant speed.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can just pretty much play my win condition when I need to.
Okay. Because I have a lot to say about this card.
I mean, I totally see, like...
What I'm about to say.
Right. Yeah.
All
so
right.
say what you're about to say.
All right. So you all are going to hate me, but I do not really think this card is that great, like everyone's been saying, because it falls under the same problem that a lot of other cards do, like Magus of the Future, Future Sight, Experimental Frenzy, that all essentially let you play with the top of your library and just play that over and over and pretty much make the top card of your deck in your hand. The problem with all of these cards, including Bolas' Citadel, is the issue of sequencing. Like, there are going to be so many times that you hit a land, and unless you're playing a deck that can play like 3 to 5 extra lands per turn, you're just going to be like constantly hitting yourself into a roadblock. And like you realize spell off the top of your hand and you're like, I don't want to cast this yet. The sequencing isn't right. And so it's like either you go into a land and you're gonna get stuck, or you flip into a land and you're like, I don't want to cast this yet. Like, I just want to play X, Y, and then this card. It's not gonna be that great, and it's just not. Like, it's nice that you pay life instead of mana, but like the issue of sequencing is still there. It's not that great, people.
Yeah, so
it kind of makes sense what you're saying, where it's like top deck manipulation. You can actually sequence it correctly.
right, but otherwise, yeah, it's just okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next.
All right. We have Vivian's Arcbow. It is 1 and a green, legendary artifact, X, tap, discard a card. Look at the top X cards of your library. You may put a creature card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, again, if you have cards that can manipulate the top of your library, like Sylvan Library, Miri's Guile, or Skull Rack, you can make the most of this card. But the restriction of like looking at the top X cards is what really keeps this card from like being busted. Like, if you could just go through your entire deck until you hit like a 0-drop or a 1-drop or a 2-drop, that would be great. But the fact that it like limits you to a certain depth of your deck.
Right, and I mean, if like, let's say I could look through my whole library, well, that means I'm doing it with 99 like mana, like, because you only get to look at X, and let's say X is 99. Well, then I could cast any creature I wanted, and why would I then cast just like that? So you would have to have either a lot of mana or just no. I when I saw this card, I was like, oh my god. No, this card is okay. It's a low CMC artifact. Nice. But yeah, I don't think it's as strong as I want it to be.
Like, for example, like what? You would pay 8, tap this, discard an 8 CMC card?
No, you don't need the card that you discard doesn't need to be the same CMC. You just are discarding a card.
Oh, okay.
The mana that you pay is then equal to the mana cost of a card that you can then find in your library by looking at it.
Yeah, there are just too many uncertainties about this card.
Yeah, the more I saw it, loved it, thought about it, was like, oh, it's okay, and now I'm just like, not worth my time.
Yeah.
I have a strong feeling that all the cards that we shit talk, we're gonna pull tomorrow in our pre-release, and I'm just gonna be like, God damn it.
No, that's gonna be perfect, because I'm gonna give it to this stupid knucklehead. It's like, oh my god, please give me that. I'm like, all right, pay me. And I'm like, I just made $10 off of a Bolus of Citadel. That's not gonna be good. Ha, sucker.
Yeah. All right.
I hope so.
Next card
is you.
God's Pharaoh Statue, 6 CMC. It's a legendary artifact. Spells your opponents cast cost 2 more to cast. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life. Stacks in a bad stacks deck?
Yeah, so I have opinions about this again.
Oh, Blake just has opinions.
I just have a lot of opinions. So, okay, let's be real here. Like, okay, people are like, you want to put this in a stacks deck because the first ability, there's 2 abilities on this card. The first one is arguably the best, and it says spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast. Okay, that's fine, but the fact that this card costs 6 mana to cost, if you're playing, you want to put this in a stacks deck, right? Stacks decks need to have much faster stacks pieces than fucking 6 CMC. You are going to put this out and you're already going to be losing. You're going to be dead by the time you put this out in a stacks deck. You're going to be so fucked. And the second ability is like almost irrelevant at this point. It's just not good enough, people. Like, you're like, I saw a lot of comments of people saying this goes in every stacks and artifact deck. Like, no, stop being dumb pieces of shit. No, it does not. Like, I'm not saying that when I play against this card and they drop it turn 6 that I'm not gonna be annoyed by it. I'm like, man, now each of my cards are gonna cost 2 more. It's gonna be annoying, But I'm just gonna be like, all right, I'm still gonna kill this piece of crap because I can push through it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, like it is not a staple in Stacks and Artifacts deck. People, stop it, stop.
Mm-hmm. Is this our last card?
Almost. We're coming up to it. We have this and then the cycle of cards left.
The finale cycle.
Yes.
Because we'll be talking about it as the finale.
Yes.
To this episode. All right. Here we go.
Oh, is it me? Okay, yeah. We have 3 and a blue for a creature illusion 0/0. You may have Spark double enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature or planeswalker you control, except it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. If it's a creature, it enters with an additional. If it's a creature, if it enters as a. It enters with an additional loyalty counter if it's a planeswalker, and it isn't legendary if that permanent is legendary. So basically, the big deal about this card and why we're talking about it is it's a clone effect that gets around the legendary rule. And the legendary rule in EDH says you can't have 2 of the same legendary creature.
That's just a rule in general.
Yeah.
Not just EDH.
Okay, yes. So, like, this is one of the few cards that gets around that rule.
Right.
Yeah, so this is a really big deal. Like, have you ever been like, man, my commander's so great, why not have 2 of them?
And it's also, I mean, if you do happen to have planeswalkers that you're playing with, a lot of the times it's hard to copy those just in general. And even if you are able to copy them, you have to sack one almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So it is good that this is allowing you to either double, I mean, best case scenario, I guess you're doubling your planeswalker commander.
Yeah, because up until now, I don't think that there have really been any ways to copy planeswalker commanders.
No.
Yeah, so I think this is the first one to my knowledge.
That is correct.
Yeah, and yeah, there's like plenty of commander decks that I would think want to just basically have another version of the commander.
Whether or not it's a planeswalker, yeah.
Yeah, so it's and it's just, I know the card named Clone is like the exact same CMC, but this is just strictly better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like we can expect to see this. And I know people have been saying that the downside to this card is that it cannot copy opponent stuff. It can only copy yours, but I feel like that's not really that big of a downside.
If your deck is so focused on doing what it wants to do, you want more of your stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like, I mean, maybe, I guess in an ideal world, sure, I would like that flexibility, but probably more than 3/4 of the time, you'd want to copy your own stuff.
Yeah, I'm doing great on my own. I want to keep doing even better on my own.
Right.
That's how most of my decks are. It's like, I don't really, yeah.
All right. So now we have the finale cycle to finish off. It's a set of monocolored sorceries that are all X and 2 of their respective colors. Each have the ability that if X is greater than 10, then the power level of those cards significantly increases. And I think this is more relevant to EDH and more formats because the times that you're probably going to be casting X for greater than 10 is much more likely in EDH than
other formats.
Right.
Yeah, because we can actually get to like large amounts of mana.
I mean, we could get X up to like infinite, whatever we want it to be.
Mm-hmm. Not even do like, yeah.
All right, so Finale of Promise. X, red, sorcery. You may cast up to 1 target instant card and or sorcery card from your graveyard, each with converted mana cost X or less without paying their mana cost. If a card this way was be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. If X is 10 or more, copy each of those spells twice.
Ooh.
You may choose new targets for the copies. And so I feel like if you have the chance, you can probably just do like infinite shenanigans with this. If you have Ral, the new Ral out too.
Maybe? Yeah.
Probably.
You're just copying copies.
Yeah. And just storming off.
Yeah. Well, like at the very least, it seems like a very stormy card.
Yeah. Finale of Storm.
Yeah. Like.
Storm Finale.
I feel like it could even be a mediocre card that you're copying, but just the fact that you're copying it so many damn times can be like good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we have. I feel like I might like even if it's a mediocre burn spell that does like burns your opponents for like 5 damage, you like or 10 damage, and you copy it all a bunch of times, I'm gonna be dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then we have Finale of Devastation. X green sorcery. Search your library and or graveyard for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less and put it into the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. If X is 10 or more, creatures you control get +X and gain haste until end of turn. So I think if I've read this card correctly, and I might be wrong, but like if you cast X for 10 for a Craterhoof Behemoth, it gives everything +15, haste, and trample to your creatures for the turn. And if that doesn't kill your opponents, I don't really know what does.
I think you're right for the most part. How are you getting 15?
Because it's like +X from this spell, and then it's also giving a +5 from the Craterhoof Behemoth at the least.
If X is 10 or more, creatures you control get +X. Well, Craterhoof Behemoth gives +X for every other creature, right? It's not just the power of Craterhoof Behemoth.
We can have this out.
Yeah, number of creatures you control.
Oh, okay.
So, at the very least, it's 10.
At the very least, it's 10.
But yeah, if you play this
into a full wide board.
Well, you probably would always just want to find Craterhoof Behemoth with this, and then
if you have the mana for it, yeah.
If you have the mana for it, and you have a lot of creatures out,
yeah.
Boom.
I
Goodbye.
mean, if Craterhoof Behemoth wasn't enough, we'll just do this too.
Yeah.
All right.
It should have had Craterhoof Behemoth on the card instead of a dinosaur. That would have been hilarious.
Just like, we know you, EDH community. We see what you're doing.
And it also would just remind you once you pick up the card, it's like, what card am I supposed to look for again? Yes. Craterhoof.
Yeah, when you're brain dead after playing like an hour and a half game or
it's
2
like
hours.
10 to 30 at night, and you're just like, ugh.
We need to go home. We need to wrap this game up.
Yeah. All right. Finale of Glory. X white sorcery. Create X 2/2 white soldier creature tokens with vigilance. If X is 10 or more, also create X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance. It's in the mono white decks that you would play this in. I feel like it would be really hard to get to that 10.
Yeah.
So it's okay. If you do happen to get this, like, yeah, that's actually really good.
Yeah, in my mind, the last two have felt like win conditions all on their own.
Well, no, this is definitely a win condition. I just feel like it's the hardest one to pull off. Because X, like, let's say you get 12, let's say you just cast X for 10. That's 10 2/2 white soldier creature tokens with vigilance, and that's 10 4/4 angels.
So you paid 12 mana to get essentially 20 power on the board?
60 power on the board.
Wait. Oh, yes.
10 times 4.
Okay, that is true.
So it is good, but like it's a win condition if you can pull it off, but I feel like it's the hardest one to pull off so far just because it's probably the most not mana intensive, but the hardest one to just play with strictly.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of cards like this where they like make X something tokens.
Right.
And those have always kind of been a struggle in EDH. That's why like I think Secure the Wastes is the one that's at instant speed and makes like a proportional amount of mana to tokens. I think that's why that's one of the best mono white token generators. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's okay, I will say this. If someone kills me with a Finale of Glory, I will have so much respect for them.
I mean, if you're running like if you do happen to be running Azorius and you have like, you know, the basic Basalt Monolith, Grim Monolith power artifact, and then you can play this. But like I feel like that those cards aren't going to go in the same deck.
Yeah, I feel like if you're making the combo you're talking about, you're already winning. You're
Yeah.
probably
Doing
including
something
cards
else.
that aren't this to finish out the game.
It's good. I think actually we didn't mention this, but so all these cards are 2 CMC, like converted mana
Inherently.
cuts.
Yeah.
And that makes them a lot easier to search, which is very nice. All right.
Yeah. So we have Finale of Revelation, X, blue, sorcery, draw X cards. If X is 10 or more, instead shuffle your graveyard into your library, draw X cards, untap up to 5 lands, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Exile this card. Man. I mean, okay, so let's say X is 10, right?
Yeah.
You pay 12 mana to draw 10 cards. You shuffle your grave into your
That's
library.
decent, but like...
Yeah, then you shuffle your grave into your library. Meh. You untap up to 5 lands. So you have 10 cards and now you have 5 untapped lands. You can cast a few things. And you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game, so you don't need to worry about discarding those 10 cards you just drew. But
This one's
like,
definitely not the win condition that the other 3 have been.
No, I don't think it is. Like, it's very blue, it draws a bunch of cards, but like... it's not like Omniscience, where like it's 10 mana and you just are probably winning that turn.
Yeah.
It's like 12 mana and you draw 10 cards and can cast maybe like 1 or 2 things.
Like even if you
Small
drew
things.
Omniscience in
You-
those
you only
10,
have
you wouldn't
5.
have... You'd need to have like your mana rocks available
Yeah.
if you didn't already use them to cast for...
I feel like by the time that I'm casting this for X equals 10 or more, like the game's probably ending and I just sunk all my mana into this and I didn't get enough value from it and I am going to lose to my opponent next turntable rotation.
Yeah.
So although there is a really nice egg in that art.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the one thing I have to say about that.
All right. We got the final of the finales. Finale of Eternity. So X black. Sorcery. Destroy up to 3 target creatures with toughness X or less. If X is 10 or more, return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. This, you'd have to set it up so that this could become the win condition. It is pretty strong, but I don't know. I think I'd rank this like 4 of the 5, like 4th place of the 5 of these. Like,
Really?
yeah, I'd say probably Finale of Devastation is number 1. Maybe 3. Maybe Finale of Eternity would be number 3.
I was going to say, I feel like this is definitely stronger than the blue and white one.
I don't know if I'd say it's stronger than the white one. I think
I would say it's stronger than the white one. Just because there's enough like 2 creature combos that can work
okay.
that you bring back.
Okay. In that okay. If you know that they're in your graveyard, sure.
And like it can win you that turn, whereas like alright, you make all these tokens, then you need to wait till next turn to swing with them.
Yeah. You know, I'd actually would consider running Finale of Glory in Avacyn if I knew that I would be able to consistently get up to such high mana costs at that point.
Yeah.
But that's just tough.
Yeah.
We're getting off topic a little. But so Finale of Eternity, I don't know. Finale of Devastation, definitely the best of the finales. Disagree?
The green one?
Yes.
I'd have to think about that. I think it's pretty... Yeah, I feel like Devastation and Promise are probably like 1 or 2. I'd have to think about it more. I'd want to play against them. But I feel like Eternity is like at least number 3, at least.
Okay. I mean, Promise, I think, also kind of runs into the same problem that Glory would have. If it's a mono red, then I feel like it might have the same problem of trying to get up to 12. But
yeah, we're assuming that these cards each go in their respective monocolor decks.
we're assuming that, and that's kind of like the worst case scenario in a way.
Yeah.
And we're also then thinking, okay, worst case scenario, but with the best case scenario.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, because I feel like even worst case scenario, you play Finale of Eternity in a mono black deck. There's enough like 2-card creatures that like, because mono black has enough lands that can generate tons of mana.
You're right. The Cabal Coffers, Urborg,
yeah, Stronghold, and all those.
A lot of mana doublers, Crypt Gas, Nirkana Revenant.
Yeah, I feel like it's very easy to get that X above 10 in a mono black deck.
I think you're right. You're right.
So I feel like it's like similar to green, where like mono green can get above the 10.
Oh, okay. Return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So even if you just like, let's say you wipe the board last turn, because you know that you can cast Finale of Eternity next turn. So then it's like, oh, destroy up to 3 target creatures doesn't become that relevant to you.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh, let me just bring back all the... Well, at that point, though, you'd probably want to just play like the Liliana Rise
of the
card.
Dark Realms?
Yeah, Rise of the Dark Realms.
Well, that's essentially kind of like what people are comparing this card to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Finale of Devastation is the best of the finales. I think it's probably one of the... At least for EDH, I think it's one of the better cards.
Because, like, at least in mono green, you can almost find any creature with a certain X CMC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so we're at the end.
We made it. Holy crap.
All right, so quick lightning round. We did this with the Planeswalkers, but what do you think's the best? What do you think's the best new commander that we're gonna get?
Yeah, overall, like, I don't know. I'm not that impressed by the legendary creatures of this set. I feel like
we got some that are pretty unique.
Yeah.
But none that are like if we had to pick like strongest legendary creature for your commander, it might just have to go to Niv Mizzet, the Wooburg commander.
Yeah, the 5-color. Yeah, because that one's arguably like CEDH worthy.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think... Okay, let me ask you this question. Do you think you'll build any of these commanders? You kind of have already said.
I definitely want to build Olsommer. Maybe I want to build the Niv Mizzet. Maybe.
To stomp me.
Yeah. Do I feel like that's just... Oh my god, that would be so much money because you just want all the dual lands. Or at that point, though, if you had all the shock lands, though, you could just keep paying the 2 life to get the shock lands in untapped.
I honestly, like, I'm surprised to be saying this as the person who's not the biggest fan of Planeswalkers, but I feel like most of the cards I'm going to be buying from this set, if I'm going to buy any at all, are going to be Planeswalkers.
And this is a Christmas Carol. Where...
This is when I die and, like, am 6 feet under and you never hear from me again because I just went back on everything I ever said.
It's like you're the Scrooge and then you had a change of heart because a ghost came to talk to you.
Because they made them more like enchantments, which I love.
All right. So we did this last episode and we're going to do this again, but we talked about how we normally do a meme at the end. And if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, you probably don't get to see the visual. So Blake and I are switching it up because we're together right now, and we're going to each tell a story about one another from the friendship that we've had for like the last 8 years.
Yeah, about 8 years.
We're both 23. No, 22.
I'm 22.
Holy shit, am I 23?
How old are you? Well, honestly, I've started to lose track. I'm like, oh man, I'm getting old. I'm losing track. I'm just like my parents.
Oh my god, I'm 23.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there in a couple days.
Yeah, that's right.
You're just gonna miss my birthday. I'm gonna leave and then it's gonna be my birthday.
Oh my god, you're right. Okay. You want to tell your story first?
All right. So, Guy and I are in high school. Imagine it. You're anxious. You're young. You're full of like weird like chemicals messing with your brain. You're just like scared of everything.
You think college is the most stressful thing, but you're so wrong.
It's like the second most stressful. Then there's high school. So we both, that's my opinion. We both go through high school and then we're like, oh, sweet, it's summer now. And then we're both like, all right, we need to learn how to drive cars and get licenses. And I was in I feel like it's better from your perspective.
It is, where the fact that I sat right next to Blake every single day in English class, and the one summer hit, I was like, yes, I will not see Blake every single day.
Fuck you.
And then I walk into our driver's ed class. Who's sitting up front with an empty seat right next to him? Blake.
Yes.
And Blake just like screams and he's like, Guy! And I'm just like, fuck. So.
Because I was excited, because I was like, man, this is about to be the boringest, like, educational, like, seminar I've had all summer. And then Guy walks in, I'm like, yes, a savior. Someone I can meme around with.
Well, no, I'd say we had a lot of fun.
Oh,
our driving instructor was, I remember too that it was probably like really early, and he called out, he was like, is Gus here? And I was like, do you mean Guy? And he looked down at his sheet and he was like, yeah, but I'm gonna call you Gus.
He called you Gus the entire rest of the session.
Yeah. And then Blake and I also ended up becoming driving partners.
Yeah.
So technically Blake was like the first person that wasn't in my immediate family that I drove with.
Yeah.
So
I would judge the shit out of you.
Yeah, you did. But we would get into the car with our driving instructor and then just drive around. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then so summer goes and we get back to high school and same thing happens. We're in the same English class again.
Because we don't know what classes we're going to get at the beginning. It's kind of all randomized and we're just told what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we happened to get the same teacher again. And then I think I sat in front of you instead of right next to you in English.
Yeah, you did. You sat right in front of me.
Yeah. So for Mr. Nickerson's English class, I sat in front of Blake. And then there would be times where Mr. Nickerson was kind of like, all right, just kind of like free time. Do what you want. And Blake and I would just like, well, I would have to like pick up my desk and turn it around. And then we would just start playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And Mr. Nickerson just walked by and was just like, I don't know.
He was like so frustrated. He's like, I don't know what these kids are fucking doing. I'm not paid enough for
I
this
feel
shit.
like he was really disappointed in us.
Because we were good students, relatively speaking.
We were definitely good students.
And then he was just like, these fucking nerds.
Well, okay. I definitely remember he was like, okay, you guys, I know you guys get hungry, and if you want to eat a light snack, because I know it's right before lunch, you can do that. But I took that as like, hey, you can eat lunch during my class. And so every day I would eat my entire lunch in his class because I was just so hungry. And I just remember he'd be looking at me sometimes when I would like struggle to open up some of the wrappers because I sat like right at the front.
You were in the front row, like pretty much second front row or front row. Yeah.
I think he would have slapped me if he could have.
He was a very hard person.
Yeah. We'd like to dedicate this episode to him because he passed away 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Within recent memory.
Yeah.
Well,
I respected him because he like yelled at all the annoying students.
He definitely didn't take any bullshit, and he definitely wanted the best out of like
all of us.
Yeah.
He expected the most out of all of us.
And now here we are, giving it our best.
Giving it our best, trying our best.
Mm-hmm.
This is
for Mr. Nickerson.
Yeah.
We're done drinking, so we'll just
I'm drinking my last chug.
Oh,
Here's
okay.
my bottle.
We can't tap empty glasses. I don't have anything,
All right,
so I can't tap.
I'll get the rest of those.
All right. Well, thank you again for listening. We definitely wanted to break these 2 episodes up because they were both gonna be behemoths on their own.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy. Hope you guys had a good pre-release. We will definitely be tweeting our opinions because this is our first pre-release
Together.
Well, we've each been to I've been to a Yu-Gi-Oh pre-release before. You've been to a Magic pre-release before.
Correct.
So we kind of have an idea of what's going on. But we're going to have a lot of fun. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Expect some really cool episodes coming up as well. And thank you. And peace.
Peace.